everyone, and welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be discussing the transactional communication model. That's right, the transactional communication model. First, we are going to discuss what even is the transactional communication model. Second, we are going to discuss the 7 elements associated with the transactional communication model. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So the transactional communication model is the exchange of messages between individuals. Now let's focus on that word exchange. It's like a transaction. So when you go to a store, when you go to pick up groceries, typically you are interacting with a sales associate, you are interacting with the cashier, and there is an exchange taking place. So when you think of the transactional communication model, think of an exchange taking place. It is going back and forth. Now, we do have a linear model of communication which focuses more specifically on one-directional communication. Now, in public speaking and with communication in itself, typically we are focusing more so on an exchange, going back and forth between myself and other individuals, myself and one other person. The linear model focuses more so on one direction, like for a radio, for instance, or for the television set. It's one way. It's one-way communication. You can yell at your television set as much as you would like while you're watching the Super Bowl, while you're watching America's Next Top Model, but the television set, it can't really hear you. It can't listen to what you are saying. It is giving you some sort of message. It is acting as the medium, but you cannot interact necessarily with the television set. The same with the radio. You can yell at your radio as much as you'd like. However, there is no meaningful communication between yourself and the radio taking place. It's not going back and forth. There is no exchange of information. Nowadays, we do see this a lot more, especially online, which is where this class is actually taking place. And so there is an exchange of information. We can see this now with businesses such as Wendy's, how Wendy's has a Twitter account and they will exchange information back and forth with customers. Back in the day, we may not have seen this. Maybe on YouTube videos, you can go back and you can comment, right? And there's an exchange taking place. But nowadays, we can interact with different companies, different people all across the world thanks to the internet. And so with the transactional communication model, remember there is an exchange taking place. It's not me talking to a wall, talking to my television set. That is a linear model of communication. We are specifically addressing the transactional communication model, which focuses more so on an exchange of information. Now that we've discussed what the transactional communication model is, let's discuss the 7 elements associated with the transactional communication model. So let me first list them off for you, and then we're going to go over what each one is specifically. So first we have the sender, second, message, third, channel, fourth, receiver, fifth, feedback, sixth, interference/noise, and then 7, we have the situation. So let's go over first and foremost the sender, or the speaker, which is also what others may refer to them as. So the sender is the person who is presenting an oral message to a listener. They are the individuals who are trying to relay some sort of information to someone else. So in this particular circumstance, I would be the sender or the speaker. I am relaying some sort of information to all of you. Second, we have the message. The message is whatever a speaker communicates to someone else. Now, this can be nonverbal or verbal. However, in this particular circumstance, my message is verbal. I like potatoes. That is a message that I am relaying to all of you. The message can be literally anything that you say. Third, we have the channel. Now, the channel is the means by which a message is communicated. And so this can be directly, like if you all were sitting in my classroom, it would be verbal. It would be through my vocal cords. However, since you all are online, you all would not be receiving this information without my iPad. The iPad in itself is the means by which the information is being communicated, but it is also verbal in that you are listening to what is being said. And so there can be multiple devices used to relay information, multiple mediums used to relay information. Fourth, we have the receiver, also referred to as the listener. Now, this is the person who receives the speaker's message. And so in this circumstance, again, it would be all of you. You all are my class. You all are members within my class. And so all of you are my audience members. And so all of you are receiving this message. Hopefully all of you are, but all of you are the listeners/receivers. Next, we have feedback. Now, feedback is the message, which is usually verbal, but it can also be nonverbal, sent from a listener to a speaker. And so imagine when you're in a classroom environment, for instance, your instructor, they're looking at you and they can see those nonverbal responses. So if you look confused and you're kind of arching your eyebrows, that sends a message to your instructor. And maybe it's unintentional. Later on, we get into nonverbal communication in a future chapter. But right now, just know that feedback, it can be verbal or nonverbal. It can be also like if you were to type down below this video and say, hey Cecilia, great video, or hey Cecilia, I don't understand what a channel is, or so on and so forth, then we can have that means of communication where again, it goes back to the transactional communication model where there is an exchange taking place. Now, interference/noise is anything that impedes the flow of communication, right? It's anything that impedes communication of any type of message. Interference can be external or internal. So let's first go over what internal noise is. So internal noise is the psychological or physiological aspects that take place within you. It's nothing outside of you, it's within you as an individual. So for psychological, this can be cognitive factors that make communication less effective. So let's say your partner just broke up with you. So while you're watching this video, you may not be thinking about what I am saying or listening to what I am saying, but instead your mind is kind of somewhere else. So that's kind of what we're referring to when we are discussing psychological. Then we have physiological. Physiological would include biological factors that interfere with accurate perception. So this could include like hearing loss, illness, etc. So imagine coming into class not feeling too well, you have a headache, you may not be listening as attentively as you normally would if you, for instance, were not sick, if you had food for the day, if you were just at your 100%. And so that's kind of the difference between the psychological versus the physiological, and both of those are internal noise or internal interferences. Next, we have external noise, which includes anything that is kind of outside of you. So more specifically, it's factors outside the receiver that make it difficult to hear, as well as many other kinds of distractions. So examples of this could include like loud music, it could include like sirens passing by. When you're having a conversation with someone, for instance, let's say you're at your doctor's office and a nurse opens the door in the middle of your conversation, it's going to impede that flow of communication. Maybe your doctor stops listening to you while you're speaking. And so we want to eliminate as many distractants as possible. Maybe you have children, maybe you have roommates, maybe you live with your parents and people are just up, they're interacting with each other, there's noises taking place. However, it does impede the flow of communication. If I'm watching your video, for instance, and I hear loud noises in the back, it might take me a minute or two to like readjust or go back in the video and be like, okay, what were they saying? Wait, I had difficulty listening to the speaker. It impeded the flow of communication because it was noise. Now that we've discussed noise and interference, let's lastly discuss situation, the time and a place in which speech communication occurs. So if we were in a classroom environment, for instance, it would be that immediate classroom. It wouldn't be the entire university or the entire college. It would be that one specific classroom. This is the specific setting. This is where it is taking place currently. So for you, the setting may be different depending on the time, depending on when you're watching this video. This could be like 2-3 years from now, who knows? This is my setting, but your setting could be completely different than mine, if that makes sense, especially within an online platform. This is where we can see things kind of get a little bit tricky when it comes to the transactional communication model. So far we have gone over what is the transactional communication model. Secondly, we went over the 7 elements associated with the transactional communication model. So all of you are exchanging information nonetheless with the students in the class. We do have discussion board posts where we do discuss our topics with other individuals in the class, where we are relaying some sort of information with other students in the class. It's not just me, here's this bit of information, and then that's it. I'll never hear back from you. No, it's an exchange of information. We are partaking in the transactional communication model in this specific class. We are exchanging information, and this is such a valuable tool in that we are able to talk with one another regardless of where we are at. In my opinion, it's such a beautiful thing that we are still able to have this class, that we are able to discuss all of these various topics and discuss different issues taking place in our world online. We are able to have this class because of technology, because of the internet. And so with this, we can develop relationships with one another. We can become a very close classroom environment. We can become a very separated classroom environment. And it kind of goes back to that relational development. And so transactional communication model, we use it in this class. Just know that other people will be watching your videos. Other people may be communicating with you either for the assignment or kind of just for funsies or interested in something that you said. And that's not a bad thing. There is an exchange of information taking place. We are all learning together. So in today's video, we discussed what the transactional communication model is, which I hope you all remember. Transactional communication model, exchange. And then lastly, we just discussed the 7 elements of the transactional communication model, which is the sender, message, channel, receiver, feedback, interference, and situation. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about this section, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, and I will see you all in the next one.